And so, you know, I don't think people really understand that. I think that there are a lot of tenants out there that just don't understand the options. And there are people that are in rent control units that feel like, oh, gee, I'm only paying $350 a month. I don't want to plunge and purchase something because then my payment will be higher. But they don't understand that that's being penny wise and pound foolish, because I know, you know, people that were renting 10 years ago, 15 years ago that are still renting this to this day.
Do you know how much money they'd be millionaires? Absolutely. If they had bought a house 10 years ago and then flipped that house within 3 to 5 years, I always tell my clients, especially with young children, I always say, if you buy smart and if you buy right, by the time your kids are old enough to go to college, you will have enough equity in your home to not only pay for their college, but also pay for your not only for their tuition, but also for your retirement. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. My sister bought her first house in 1973 for $36,000. Now, it's very hard to believe that you could buy a house for $36,000. Beautiful house in the valley for $36,000. A few years ago, she built the most exquisite home, 4,000 square foot house on 1.5 acres of land, and the seed that she used for the money to build that home was that $36,000 house that she bought in 1973. Because every so often, every 5 to 7 years, she moved up. When the market was amenable, she moved up. When she could afford to do it, she moved up. And now she's living in a house that's extremely valuable.
It also has been quite wise to take some of that equity out and put it into rental properties.
Yes,
acquire rental properties with some of that equity. That's always a good thing. But I remember my first house, which I bought in 1986, and I was pregnant to have my little baby, and I was a single mom, and I had no job, and everyone told me, you're crazy to buy something, and I bought a house for $138,000, which was in Van Nuys at the time. Now it's Valley Glen, but it was Van Nuys, and it had a little area that could be made into a guest house. So I closed off the back room, where there was also part of a garage conversion, and made a little guest house back there. So I had a 4-bedroom house in the front, and they had this guest house, and they were paying most of my mortgage. By the time I was finished, I was paying $300 a month mortgage, which was cheaper than I could find an apartment for anyway. So even though I had no job, even though I couldn't qualify for a loan, I had to obviously get a no qualifying loan, which is what I've always had to get. I've never qualified for anything I've ever owned in my life to this day. So, you know, it's really great that there were those kinds of options, that there have been options where people can get no qualifying loans, that they can get into property, that they can rent out rooms if necessary, or make a little guest house. You know, people do all sorts of things, go in with a relative and share the house with someone in order to build that equity. And then, you know, after a few years, you're able to move out to your own place and have a bigger place, and you just keep moving up, up, up.
And there's something to be said for the fact that we need to learn how to start saving money, because it's not only about, you know, so many people are in trouble right now. So many people bought homes that they couldn't afford, they couldn't qualify for, and the thinking behind it was that, okay, I'm going to buy a house for $800,000, and I'm going to put nothing down. I'm going to get 100% financing, and within 2 years that house is going to be worth $1 million. And at that point, even though I've got one of those crazy loans, which at the beginning had 1.25% interest, so my payments were really, really low, but then those loans were going to balloon and my payments were going to be $5,500 a month. So what I'm going to do is, all I have to do is in 2 years I'll go and refinance, because you have to have equity in your home in order to be able to refinance. So these people all got into trouble because they assumed the market was going to continue to go up. It didn't.
They didn't have a real plan.
Well, exactly, and it was a pie-in-the-sky plan. And the bottom line was that now these people are in trouble because they got these loans with very desirable, you know, 1 or 2 year introductory interest rates. The market didn't go up, and now we're seeing the short sales and the foreclosures.
As an agent, it's also your responsibility that if you know something about your client, that you guide them in regards to what kind of a loan they're getting. And if you're seeing that they're getting a 1.5% starter, and you can know a little bit about how their mindset is, that maybe this is not for them, and you kind of let them know that, you know what, you have other choices, and this may not be
exactly.
If you're doing the flipper,
I'm not talking about the flipper. I'm talking about the people right now who are in trouble. And I just wanted to address the subprime problem for 1 second, because